Mnangagwa reports here that most Zimbabwean banks are refusing to pay civil servants in advance as they fear government will default in repayments or reimbursement. So broke government has failed to meet its revenue collection targets. Just imagine. This is really the problem that we continue to see with the Mutuli and ZANU-PF. These guys, they know exactly that they are running a sinking ship. They know that this government cannot sustain itself. This is why what is happening is each time that they appear like they want to present a budget, instead, it's not a budget, it is another scheme of trying again to milk some more money from the very people that are fail. And if they continue to fail to pay banks, banks will end up now refusing, like what we are seeing now happening. This is why many police officers, civil servants, soldiers, teachers, they've not been paid, because they used to be paid in advance, because the government would ask the banks to pay them, and then government would pay the banks. But now, when you start to see that banks themselves are now beginning to refuse to pay on behalf of government, then it becomes a big problem. Who would ever refuse to have any kind of association or any kind of contract or deal with a government in any country? Because the government is supposed to be the one that has all the money. And unfortunately, in Zimbabwe, it's the other way around. Money is actually within the people, and the government itself is a broke government. That is the most problem that we have in Zimbabwe. So we don't even know what Wanamtuli are doing there. There's nothing that they are doing there except to loot. They are there just to steal, nothing else. They've actually seen that Zimbabwe has become so corrupt to the point that they can't stop it anymore, because the corruption has gone so deep, so much deep, that they can't even follow it up. Each stage that they may want to rip out corruption, you'd find that there's a boss who is also part of it. So they end up now, they can't arrest each other. That is the problem with ZANU-PF. And that is why our country is not moving. Our country is not working. We are not going anywhere as a country. Imagine that a government fails just to pay mere salaries. What about construction? What about other areas that need funding? How are they going to be funded if a government just fails to pay only salaries? This is very sad and pathetic. And Mthuli Ncube continues to boast. You hear him when he speaks. He speaks like he's so organized, speaking through his nose. You might think that there is a man who knows what he's doing. The man is clueless. The man does not know what he's doing. ZANU-PF is corrupt. ZANU-PF is bankrupt. ZANU-PF is clueless. Mnangagwa is a failure. They've failed totally. And there is nothing that they can ever do that works. And this is the situation on the ground. And we need to be standing up and praying and declaring the word of God over the nation of Zimbabwe. We as intercessors, we know that Zimbabwe is under spiritual attack. We are under attack as a people, as a nation. We have sons and daughters of Lucifer at the helm of our country. They don't care about the life of Zimbabweans. All they care about is themselves. And that is why we continue to have all these problems. Really, working for a government is just poverty. You are just inviting poverty to your life. And yet, this used to be the greatest employer, with many people that used to be successful being people that worked in government. But now in Zimbabwe, it is totally different, unlike what is happening in other countries. You find that most of the people that are the middle class, of the economy, they are actually workers of government in many countries. But in Zimbabwe, you find that that's not working. That group, that middle class, has been destroyed. Now we just have the bourgeoisie, we have the haves and the have-nots, and that is the situation. And that is one thing that needs to continue to be fought in Zimbabwe until freedom shall be realized. We can't continue to have a government that is always talking about being broke, a government that is always blaming somebody else for its failures, a government that is good at just pointing fingers and not taking responsibility for their failures. It's a high time that ZANU-PF government must take responsibility. It's a high time that ZANU-PF government must accept that they have failed. Mnangagwa should not insult Zimbabweans by talking about going to 2030 when he has failed dismally in the manner that he has done. It is really witchcraft for him to want to get to 2030, with some, of course, now calling for 2035, which is just so amazing. We really need new leaders. Zimbabwe deserves better. No one in ZANU-PF is able to turn the misfortunes of the country around. We need totally new blood, new leaders, new minds, people that will come with the will to work for Zimbabwe and make Zimbabwe better. Otherwise, the rest of the people that we have now, they are not after developing the country. They are after themselves, their children, their pockets, their cronies, their friends and relatives. And that is the situation on the ground. We are never going to give up. We will fight until Zimbabwe is free. We will continue to speak out, to rebuke ZANU-PF. We will continue to condemn their acts and their evil until victory is certain. And indeed, the victory is coming. We are in that season of exposure, the season of victory, the season of power to the people. And we are seeing this happening even in other countries. We are seeing it happening. It definitely is going to be happening in our own context. There's no way that our situation will ever remain the same again. Zimbabwe is going to be free. Zimbabwe for Zimbabweans. ZANU-PF must go down. Mnangagwa must leave and let Zimbabwe survive. Let Zimbabwe recover. Let Zimbabwe gain life once again. Thank you so much, family, for joining me on this very platform. As I continue to encourage us to subscribe to the channel, to like and share. Also put your comment and tell us what you think. What do you think about this Mnangagwa government, a broke government that wants to go to 2030? You are blessed. Till we meet again in the upcoming show. Shalom.